Picture this, it's 1939. Europe is a powder keg about to explode, but halfway across the world, another massive, forgotten war is already raging. This is the story of the Battle of Khalkhin Gol, a brutal clash between the Soviet Union and Imperial Japan that would change the course of World War II before it even officially began. It all started on the desolate, windswept plains of Mongolia, along a river called the Khalkhin Gol. For years, Japan's Kwantung Army, hungry for territory, had been pushing into China from their base in Manchuria. Now, they had their sights set on the Soviet-allied Mongolian People's Republic. The border was poorly defined, and both sides claimed the same patch of land. It was the perfect excuse for a fight. In May 1939, a small group of Mongolian cavalry crossed the river into disputed territory. The Japanese responded immediately, pushing them back. What began as a minor skirmish quickly spiraled out of control. Both sides poured in more troops, more tanks, and more planes. By June, this border dispute had become a full-blown, undeclared war. At first, the Japanese had the upper hand. Their soldiers were battle-hardened veterans from the war in China, and their tactics were aggressive and effective. They launched a major offensive, crossing the river and threatening to encircle the Soviet forces. For the Soviets, things looked grim. Stalin, watching from Moscow, was furious. He needed someone who could turn the tide, someone ruthless and brilliant. He found his man in a then-unknown general named Georgy Zhukov. Zhukov arrived and immediately shook things up. He was tough, demanding, and had a revolutionary vision for modern warfare. He saw what others didn't. This wasn't going to be a battle of infantry, it was going to be a war of machines. While the Japanese relied on their bonsai charges and warrior spirit, Zhukov was building a modern, mechanized army. He quietly amassed an incredible force. Over 500 tanks, hundreds of armored cars, and more than 500 aircraft were secretly moved to the front. He established a massive supply line, using thousands of trucks to bring in fuel, ammunition, and food around the clock. The Japanese, underestimating their opponent, were completely unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. On August 20, 1939, Zhukov unleashed his masterstroke. Under the cover of a massive artillery barrage and air bombardment that stunned the Japanese, his armored columns smashed through their flanks. It was a classic pincer movement, a blitzkrieg before the term was even famous. The Soviet tanks and infantry encircled the entire Japanese Sixth Army. The fighting was savage. The Japanese, trapped and with no hope of rescue, fought to the last man. They launched desperate counterattacks, but they were no match for the Soviet Union's overwhelming firepower and superior armor. By the end of August, the Japanese army was annihilated. It was a catastrophic defeat for Japan, with tens of thousands of casualties. On September 15th, a ceasefire was signed. On the surface, it was just a border dispute that had ended. But the consequences were monumental. For Japan, the defeat was a brutal reality check. The Imperial Army learned it could not win a land war against the Soviet Union. This humbling experience pushed their strategic focus south, towards the resource-rich colonies of Southeast Asia, and ultimately, towards Pearl Harbor. They would never again seriously threaten the Soviets from the east. For the Soviet Union, Khalkhin Gol was a vital lesson. It tested their new military doctrine and proved the effectiveness of combined arms warfare. And it launched the career of Georgy Zhukov, the man who would later defend Moscow and lead the Red Army all the way to Berlin. This forgotten battle on the Mongolian steppe didn't just decide a border. It shaped the grand strategy of World War II, freeing Stalin to face Hitler with one less front to worry about. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most important battles are the ones we barely heard of. Thanks for watching. If you found this piece of hidden history interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories you didn't learn in school. See you next time.